Well, today we are sitting down in Big Daddy's shop. Where did you get the nickname?
That is a story I was hoping we wouldn't talk about. It's not what you think, sort of. It's led from a couple different things, but I actually got that through my fireworks business. And that's a story within itself, and then, the relationships over the years and stuff. But it's funny, you talk about nicknames and stuff like that over the years, and I kind of hated it, and I still hate it today, but it's when you get a nickname, some stick, some don't. We talked about that last year with the different names you get from over the years. And one name that I kind of wish I would have got, even though at the time I hated it, a guy, every time I went to a derby, called me Hollywood. And I said, I don't get it. What's up with the Hollywood? And he says, I thought, I was cocky back in the day and everything else. I said, but why? Can't we get away from that? He says, no, you're the only guy I know that can go to a derby, and you're as clean as you are when you come. I've never seen a guy wash his hands or, walk away from a derby. And I says, okay, I get that. I'm good with that. But the Big Daddy thing, I don't know. That started way back in the early 90s and kind of stuck, and it is what it is.
Yeah. I would say there's a lot of people that only know you by that.
Correct. Yes, there is. And that's one of them deals, too, where, hey, Big Daddy, how's it going? And I'm like, hey, so-and-so. Shit, I don't even remember this guy's name.
Right.
And it's like, oh, you remember us? I bought that car from you back in in 97 or 98. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that one. No, I have no clue.
It's hard to remember when you've been buying and selling cars for 40 years,
But,
the
Big Daddy, that was a good question. You hit me with a good one there.
Good. I've always wondered that.
Well, and it originated, I never really answered the question. An old Indian buddy of mine was a great customer of mine in the fireworks business. I've been in the fireworks business for 37 years, and this is a true story. He came out to one of my stands, and there was a crowd of people standing there. And he looked at everybody, and you could not script this. He said, this guy is the Big Daddy of fireworks. I was discount fireworks for the first 5 years of my business.
Okay.
And after that, the very next year, I changed the name to Big Daddy's Discount Fireworks. That's one of the reasons why I got the name. It's a true story.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And this guy is, rest in peace, he's not with us anymore, but he was part of the
name creation. Well, I guess aside from that, as we know, you've been derbying since the 90s. We talked earlier. What
1990.
What officially got you into the derbying, though?
It was weird. A small town by Mobridge, Selby, used to have one of them small towns that had a derby one year, and I opened my mouth and spouted off, and I said, man, we were sitting up in the stands. I said, God, I could do this. I could do a lot better than these guys out here.
Yeah.
Right. And it was kind of a joke at first, and blah, blah, blah. A few beers later on the way home, guy says, hey, I know where there's some cars at. They're probably $50, $100 a piece. I said, let's go try this thing.
Right.
In hindsight, kind of wish I wouldn't have. I don't know how many $100 bills later I would have saved, but no regrets.
Yeah.
Absolutely no regrets. That is honestly how it started, over kind of a bet and being at another show. And, 1990, and 33 years later, here we are.
Wow. Yeah, and, well, you've traveled basically everywhere.
Last year, when you go on them long road trips, it gives you time to reflect and think about a lot of stuff. Last year, we kind of counted it up with my new guy, Jason, coming on board a few years ago. He's new. He doesn't know all the stuff from the 90s. But 9 different states I've derbied in, 4 or 5 single wins in different states, kind of your bragging shit, right stuff you do or whatever. Nothing major.
The wall hanger stuff.
Nothing major, but a solid, decent run, in the last 5-6 years. Had some pretty good luck, but you think about different things like that.
Right.
Never realized. And then it's weird when you forget about some of them shows.
Yeah.
And somebody will come up to you at a show and say, hey, man, no hard feelings over blah, blah, blah last year. And it's like, what? You were out there? It's like,
right.
Didn't even know you were out there.
Right.
Forgot. Yeah, you run a lot of shows like that, though. Things kind of skew from one show to the other after 33 years,
well,
I would assume.
It's one of them deals where, like in the last, I'd say 5 to 10 years, you need a new spark.
Yeah.
Love running with everybody up North Dakota around here, but it's just the same old routine. You got to get away from it. You got to get out of your element. Doesn't matter if you go get your ass kicked or whatever. If it's
It's true though. Yeah,
You have to.
Yeah.
And you can't expect great outcomes, but when and if you do, like I always say, if you walk away from a top 3 or whatever, it's that much more important and enjoyable.
Absolutely.
You look at different things and shows after the years, you look for different things to look forward to. Like, I don't know if that makes me feel like I'm getting older, but you look at things different.
Right.
On what you can take away from different shows. Every show's different.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I remember the first time I ever met you. You probably don't even remember it.
nope.
The first time I met you was in Watford City, maybe like 2012-ish. You had a blue Imperial. There was like 4 or 5 Imperials. I was the only GM. I was in a 73 Pontiac.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I didn't win. You won it. You won it. And I remember you shooting off like a confetti thing after you won it. So
That was
Hollywood, right?
that was pretty cocky. Had it in my truck for something, and I thought, hell, I'm going to throw this in and do something dumb at the end if we can pull this off. And my guy was down at the end of the ring, and I do remember doing that. I actually did that at another show in Rapid City one year, too. And it was kind of neat, but God. Yeah, thanks for that memory.
yeah, no, I remember that because you got first, another imp got second, and I got third behind all you
I think
guys.
it was a Jeanette kid.
Yep, it
And
was.
He would not quit. That car would not die. That was fun. I kind of remember that show a little bit. That was a fun show. Another deal where I think Cody was running it. Maybe not.
I don't remember who was running it at that
Talked
time.
me into coming up there. One of the few places we could still run on imps.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Always fun.
Yeah. And then after that, I think where I don't know if we ever really talked. I ran against you, and I remember I ran a stock car in New England. I think it was that same year. I don't remember what kind of car you had, but afterwards I won, and you came up and asked me if I wanted to buy more cars because it was a completely rusted out '73 Chevy. And you were like, I got a bunch of those if you want to come buy some. And there's nothing left of it. You're like, I got all sorts of those kind of cars.
New England. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was you and I think Vetch. You guys
It's
were
been one of them odd years.
You guys
Don't
were
even
late.
Remember that town?
You were late.
We were late.
Like
Imagine
no,
that.
like the show was starting and you guys called. No, not you. The other guy that chased up got pulled over on the way up.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking
See,
Yeah,
early.
that's
I don't remember when it was. But kind of after that, it's kind
Yeah, I
of.
kind of feel
17?
dumb now, and I know a lot of towns, and I know where I don't. Where
It was
that?
the last year.
Where
straight
was
south,
that?
New England, straight south of Dickinson.
Yeah, it was the last year they ever had a derby too.
Yep.
What did I have there?
I don't remember what you had there.
It was
a GM.
It
I
was
think.
black. I know that.
It was a GM. I think.
Huh.
I think yeah. I'm pretty sure it was you and I want to say it was Vetch that both came up.
That's the scary thing with all these years. I can remember stuff usually
Right.
way back, but I don't know if it's derby related. I
Right.
can't remember stuff 3 days ago.
Wow. Yeah.
I love it though when people tell me about that's part of the deal now that I appreciate. I love it when people talk about old shows. And
Right.
Sometimes that's where I met you or this and that. That's the good part about it now that you take for granted back then.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's the stuff I look forward to now. Is the pictures, the stuff that I've saved. Like I don't know if it's a sign of getting older, but like the memorabilia I have now
Right.
that I've saved over the years, and people are like, "What the hell you got that? Oh man, that's cool."
It is super cool though. Just even being in your shop here, you got like stuff from years back, so it's super cool.
And I was a very good picture taker and collector back in the '90s, and then I got away from it because you take it for granted. You
Yeah.
didn't know
Right.
what was important, and I'm mad at myself now because there's so many cars out there that I built and ran. I wish I had pictures of,
Yeah.
and I don't, and that's what sucks.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
So-
I think a lot of guys are like that though.
Yeah.
I would say you could probably talk to 90% of drivers that say they've got plenty of cars they don't have any photos of.
yeah.
You know.
And I did have, not to get off subject, but I did have a shop fire. It was an unlucky experience back when I was building out of Mulbridge, when I lived in Mulbridge. I knew my little one-stall shop, and I did have some early bird trophies in there and some other stuff that I had lost that sucks,
Yeah.
that I wish I had back, that were really cool, old-school trophies.
Right.
And stuff like that. I never cared back then afterwards,
Right.
or, until recently, because I know I'm coming to the end.
Right.
I've been saying the final tour and every other kind of tour for at least the last 5 or 6 years.
Right.
And I know it's coming to an end, and now I kind of wish that I would have saved more stuff or
done
things different.
kept more
Right.
around.
It is what it is. Every driver will go through it. I don't care who you are.
Right. So of all the states you've been to, what's your favorite? What's the favorite place to run?
Favorite place to run? I don't know.
Favorite.
God, I sure have supported a lot of North Dakota shows.
Right.
You guys are right here. You know, the border's only 15 minutes from me. I don't know. I can't answer that. You know, everybody says, well, Vegas has to be your favorite win of all time. Yeah, that was a huge comeback, and that kind of was awesome for the area, for Dookie winning the Friday night show, and I got lucky and won the Saturday night show, and anything from the Midwest. I'm happy for anybody.
Right.
And I'll tell you straight up, that's how I am with people. A lot of people don't like me for what it is, but that was huge for our area.
Yeah,
it was. It was.
But, you know, then I think back, like, when you go on these Utah drives or wherever you go to, you got a lot of time to think, and you think derby stuff. And you know, a couple years ago coming home, you know, was that the biggest win? Yeah, it was a great win. But then I started thinking about the shows in North Dakota over the years, me being there by myself, like battling. And one show that came to mind that we talked about was Center, and I can't remember what year it was. But, oh, my God, I showed up there, only South Dakota guy, blah, 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 of course. And we had Brady, and back when Geiger was running, not Nick, but Chris, and Nick might have been there. And all I remember is, God, who had the full frame? Was it Stringer? Anyway, I think there was 5 or 6 Imperials there.
Yeah.
And you know, I remember wins like that because that was a true hard-earned win, and I ended up pulling that one off at the very end. And those are probably more important to me than
The big shows.
kind of the Vegas win. And you know, but don't get me wrong, they're all good, and you always got to remember, you know, which one's going to be your last. A guy appreciates them more now.
Well, you don't know, especially, you just don't know. And then cars and economy and.
Well, and getting back to the win part, when you go to these, it's about what happens there now to me.
Yeah.
Like who you met there, who you drove against,
Right.
what quality of cars were there. You know, I'll take a stock. The car doesn't have to be a super hard limited weld car or anything like that. I'll take certain stock wins just because I had more fun at them.
Yeah. Like
Who
New Salem,
I ran against or
New
whatever.
Salem last year for you. Your car was.
Yeah, I had a few cars that were messed up.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you know, I remember things like that now, more
Right.
importantly. You know, went down last year, got lucky at a Nebraska show, ran a Will Steinbeck show, and ran that, whatever class that was called. And, God, I think we had 24, 25, 26 cars in there. You know, I thought, well, top 5 here would be good. Ended up getting lucky.
Right.
On that one, there was a little bit of drama involved that everybody knows about now.
Yeah.
It's been all over the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I take that one away from that show? No, not so much. I took away from that show, unfortunately, all the drama afterwards because it became a big deal here in the last month or so on the internet. We can talk about it now.
Yeah. Yeah. I've talked about it in the past. I don't know.
Certain things stick out in your mind.
Yeah.
Show.
Yeah, and that show, to be exact, I don't know. I don't know who was in the right and who was in the wrong there, but obviously there were some unpaid bills.
Yep.
I don't know, roughly around $5,000, I think, is what it came out to be.
Yeah.
Speculation.
Yeah.
Water under the bridge with us.
Unknown to me. But
Come
either
home from that show. Another thing I'll take away from that show that'll go to my grave with me. Come home from that show and about 20 miles out of Valentine, when you're south of Valentine, you were literally in the middle of nowhere again, and I thought we were in a freaking tornado. I'm not gonna lie.
that's a hailstorm, wasn't
That's
it?
right.
When I pulled over, and I've been in a million storms being from the Dakotas, and that was freaking hairy, boys.
Yeah.
Did your truck get hailed out?
It got some damage, not like we thought. How, I don't know, but it was a monsoon, and I tell you what, it came out of nowhere, and it was nuts. It was nuts. The truck was rocking, and I mean, it was bad.
Oh,
Memories, though, that's what it's all about.
Yep.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Trips down and trips back. Like when people talk about the Utah, the long trips and stuff like that, I tell them, I said, it's not just about the show. It's about the journey out there and journey back.
Absolutely.
It's grinding. It's grueling. It's 1,100 miles. There's a lot that can go wrong. Half the journey, you know, when I tell some of these people, they're like, shit, you know, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Half the journey is the journey in itself, getting out there and back.
Well, that's so true. When we went out to Vegas, I can't remember what the town name is right outside of Gillette, but we ran out of fuel. on the way down, and it was blizzarding, and we had it was me and Jacob, and then had a gal with us, like just in my head the whole time. Got a lady with, so I really feel bad on top of it. It's one of those things, just trying to push it, trying to get there, and but no one else experienced it because they weren't in the car. But the moment we pulled into Vegas with, Derby cars, well, actually we had the enclosed trailer, but the cars were right behind us. I mean, no one knows what that was like because you weren't there. So the journey, just driving, going by the speedway and coming into the Fremont, I was like, wow, what an experience.
Yep. And you never know what's going to happen on the way out and the way back, and that's what it's all about now.
Yeah.
That's what gives you the memories.
Right.
You don't think about it right away, but when it's 5 years later, 10 years later.
Right. But even looking at the friendships, I mean, it's
like out in Vegas, speaking of the friendship deal, that's meeting them guys, some of the guys that I keep in touch with now, and just on Facebook or whatever. Not to get off the subject totally, but like when we were out there for singles, when I met the Delara family, needed some plates, they had the plates, whatever it was. Great guys. Would I ever met them without that?
Right.
I still keep in contact with them. Still message them all the time on Facebook. Crazy Brian Horton from Friday night in the yellow and black, the infamous yellow and black wagon.
Yeah.
Stan McDonald. I talk to Stan McDonald probably 2 or 3 times a week now.
Yeah.
Right.
Would have never ever, great guy. Stan the man. Good guy to give shit to whenever I need to. But yeah, it's crazy. And it's just, and that leads into different things like the different types of builds that they got out there and everything else.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
But it kind of makes it full circle. I mean, it turns it into a family more or less.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. And it's one big circle, and it adds to the circle.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps it going.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, off camera we talked about some stuff, but there's so many people you wouldn't realize how close they are. But like in the Derby world, most everyone's connected in one way or another.
Yep, absolutely.
It's crazy how, like that, like you could just see, just watching on some of the social media stuff, somebody on the opposite side of the country will buy a part and be like, hey, anybody going this way that can get this for me? Within a week, it's wherever it needs to be. From
Exactly.
Somebody in the Derby knows this guy.
And that's where the dreaded Facebook world comes into effect, I'll call it.
Yeah.
With it good and bad.
Yep.
The double-edged sword.
Yep, that's exactly it.
I told myself from day one, I'm not getting that. I don't need that.
Yeah.
And then I started missing out on so many car deals. Mm-hmm. But it also, on the other side, helps guys get parts, helps cars get shipped, about who you know.
Most all Derby show information is on the old book face.
It's the easiest way to get it out.
And I hated it because I'm old school. I'm still that guy that likes to sit down and read newspapers and stuff.
Yeah.
And with my businesses for advertising and stuff, it's hard for when that sales lady comes in. I don't have the heart to tell her. I don't really need to put that ad in anymore. I got Facebook right here. It's free.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm still that guy that I don't give a shit, likes to sit on the toilet or whatever, sit at my bar.
Right.
I love picking up that newspaper.
Right.
Yep.
I love, just it, but that Facebook, that's another, I missed out on so many car deals. If I'd have, I'd have maybe possibly twice as many cars
Right.
right now if I would have not been so stubborn and jumped on there years earlier.
So you got in a little Facebook trouble too here recently.
Yeah.
Too much waffling.
Yeah. Got some haters out there. It happens. Did it to, it was a good thing. Didn't really do it for the money. I don't, it's one of them deals where it was there. It was fun. One of the biggest joys out of it was getting the pictures back from guys. I won't name names, but I'm still getting pictures of cars that I gave away. It helped. The biggest enjoyment I got taken away from it was the guys would send me pictures of their kids in their garage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Working on the cars. And they're like, man, I owe you big time. My kid had no interest in coming out here and helping me on a Derby car or enjoying these old cars.
Right.
Now they come out and clean it for me, or they can't wait to see if I find this part for it. And then I'll get a picture, like I'll forget about it, and like 2 years later or 3 years later, I'll get a picture of this guy and their kids. They just got done taking it through their town parade or whatever.
Right.
And it's cool because I forget about a lot of these cars.
Right.
And they're like, man, I owe you. Or the guy that, I won't say his name either, but he's like, because of you, I have a wagon. He goes, I'll be honest, I couldn't afford one of these.
It's true though.
He goes, I couldn't drop 10 grand on one of these if it wasn't for you. He bought one ticket. He won.
Right.
That's the kind of guy I wish everybody could win, but that's the kind of guy I want to win.
Exactly.
And he's like, you know, I have one of these because of you.
Yep.
And he didn't change a thing on it. He's like, I love it the way it is. And
Right.
yeah, you know, I don't know if it's jealousy or the haters, but yeah, somebody turned me in. I was actually on vacation out, and I'll tell the story. I don't give a shit. I was out on vacation in Vegas, and my state's attorney was trying to call me early that morning, and I'm on good relationships with him because of one of my businesses I have, and I says, man, you know, what's up? And he says, hey, I got a call from the state. You got what's this waffle deal I got on your Facebook page and checked it out. He goes, so are you giving this to charity or what's going on here? I says, no, I do it so many deals. And he goes, okay, but bottom line is you got to stop. He goes, it's illegal. I said, well, yeah, but, you know, everybody's doing it. Everybody is doing
Yeah,
it.
it's everywhere.
So anyway, the long story short, he says, okay, here's the deal. If the state's attorney or the general attorney, state of South Dakota, big time dude gets involved. He says, this right now, before we go any farther, I'm not going to proceed with, you know, anything. He says, but if he gets involved, then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
He says, there's no more slap on the wrist. And I was like, oh, okay. And he goes, yeah. He goes, they'll come after you and blah, blah, blah. I says, okay, I'll stop them. But it was bad timing for me because I had a monster planned for December.
Yeah.
I had a monster one planned. I had a 4-wagon giveaway involved with a bunch of good prizes, and it was just going to be kind of a Christmas theme deal, and it was going to be a big one. I was going to murder all the others. You know, go big or go home.
Right.
And
Perfect time of the year.
It was bad timing, man. It really bummed me out because I had a good one to do, and maybe, you know, I'll go through the loopholes and find out how I can, you know. My boy Skin Dog down south, he doesn't care. He knows I'll tell it like it is. He's right now, he's got a couple moles in the, you know, deal. He's trying to weed out. And I know people, that's another subject we could talk about all day too. They got all these guys that are against waffles, and yeah, it might have hurt the prices or this and that. But at the end of the day, to me, nobody's forcing you to play.
Right.
Move on, man.
Yeah.
Move on. If it ain't your thing and you're against them, it's another thing. Like I said, it's like they're here.
Right.
They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's not going
Nobody's
anywhere.
forcing you to play.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own form of entertainment or gambling.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, do it. And if you don't like it, scroll on by, man. It's simple.
Right.
I mean,
it amazes me because obviously it was someone in your friend group that had to have turned you in. So
it'll come out. That's why I'm letting it go.
Right.
And I'll tell you right now, call me superstitious, call me whatever you want. I'm a firm believer in karma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in karma.
Yeah, I mean, but
it's going to come back and get you.
You see them everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, everybody is doing it. It's not like I said, somebody's salty about something. It's just whatever.
It caught me off guard. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
And not to throw anybody under the bus, I thought I was running one of the more fair ones as far as like value wise.
Right.
I wasn't overpricing mine.
Right.
Yeah.
I was very, I think, fair with mine.
Yeah.
And I put a different twist on it. I'd like to say I was one of the first users of the popsicle stick. Had a few people copy me now.
Right.
I'm not that guy that wants to play around with computers and try to cheat the system.
I like the popsicle sticks idea, though. I mean, it worked out well.
Yeah.
You know,
That's something different.
Well, the
in
reason why I
names.
started doing it, because I knew I was going to do a bunch, it would save me time in the long run. I just kept using the same ones over and over. And I'm not the best guy with computers and doing them alone and this and that, but that's how that all started too.
Right.
But, yeah.
Huh. Yeah, it's too bad because, like you said, people who most likely couldn't afford certain things, even if they were derby and not driver quality, they were never going to have their hands on a wagon. So now they do.
Yep.
yeah. Well, as you know, my wife won a toolbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A very nice one.
Yeah, it was a very nice one there.
Yeah.
But that there, you know, hey, you want to buy a ticket? Sure. She has no idea, but
Well, just and just like that, one of the last ones I gave away, my blue and white Buick, that went to a different state finally and different people, and that got delivered down to Blizzard Bash.
Oh.
And that thing had the patina, the browned out patina hood on it. And here I get a picture from Yvette O'Brien, and and I just met this guy earlier in the year, and over in Throwdown in Minnesota when I ran that show.
Oh, yeah.
And here the coolest thing, they have Jason Sauer paint a Bigfoot on their hood.
Right.
because it matched, and they're Bigfoot fans or whatever, and they send me this picture, and I'm like, cool, I know that wagon's never going to get wrecked.
Right.
There's only one round back out there with a Bigfoot on its hood. You got sour,
Right. Right.
most wanted fine art on your hood now. How cool is this?
Right.
To some people, it might not have been. To me, that was awesome.
Right. One
So
of a kind.
everything I've given away or every car I've ever had has a story.
Yeah.
Know.
Are any of the cars in here from town itself, or
No.
No.
The one car, if you go back on my website, I think it's still on there. That's a kind of a neat story, too. Everybody thought I'd lost my mind. If you go back, there's a 72 Pontiac, I think, on my BDR site that was at Mecum. I ran that car up to $40,000.
Oh, I remember that.
And
yes.
I quit at $40,000.
Yep.
Yes.
And I got so many text messages after that. Everybody's like, have you lost your mind? What are you doing? That car was bought and ordered down in Mulbridge. It was the only car of that dealership that was specially ordered. They sold several station wagons, but it was the only one, because I know the salesman that told me the story on it.
Sure.
And what's weird is that guy moved to Spearfish, but he managed our local elevator here in town.
Oh.
So I had, it's a long story short, I had a keychain of the guy managing the elevator with the old 4-number telephone. That's how old it was.
Sure.
60s.
Yep.
And he bought that car brand new, had it all documented. I went out to look at that car in Spearfish. He had 8 tarps on the car. That tells you how nice that car was. 8 tarps.
Right.
When we took the tarps off, we had to put them back on in the same place they were. The car was just immaculate. Not a big Pontiac fan, but it's
Right.
just one of them cars I had to have because it still had the Mulbridge dealership
Oh,
sticker
right.
on the back.
Oh.
And all the cars I've owned, the rollers, I've had some of them with the Mulbridge decal on the back. The weird things why I want certain cars.
Right.
But it had that same tag
Wow.
still on the back intact. How a guy from Wisconsin, and I ponied up for that car, ended up with that.
Right.
And the last thing I'd ever thought I'd see it come across a Mecum auction.
Right.
And then I don't back down at auctions. But Jesus, at 40 grand, I had
Do you
to
know
let
who
it go.
bought it?
No.
No?
I couldn't figure it out, and it, to this day, that's the one. You always got them cars or vehicles in lifetime you're chasing that got away. You're like,
Right.
damn, man.
Sore subject still.
Yeah.
I'm not over that one yet.
That was a tough one to get away. I mean,
Yeah, I remember watching that auction.
Well, what was that auction? Where was that auction just this summer? That like 76?
That was up by
I assumed one of you guys, maybe
Oh,
North got it or
the
something.
green Pontiac
yeah.
north of Bismarck. You're talking about
Yep,
that one
that's
at Vanderbrink auction?
Well, wasn't there one in South Dakota when we went to the state fair? You were bidding on one down here.
Oh, I've been on a lot of damn
Yeah,
cars.
I don't know.
But I think the one
I know
he's
you.
talking
Got,
about
I know
is
you
that
got one that I was pretty salty about that one for a while. I think it was a blue 76.
Getting Paul out of Bismarck.
Yeah. So I called. I was the first guy to call on the car, and I said, "I got the cash. I'll be there right now." And I got to New Salem because I'm an hour away from Bismarck. And
Well, you called me.
did
Remember?
I call you?
You called me and said, "What are you doing right now?" I'm like, "Working." What?
Yeah.
Can you grab your trailer and go get this car?
And I didn't even make
Yeah.
it to New Salem, and the guy called me, "Sorry, it's sold." And I was like, pissed. I was like, "Sold? I'm a guy of my honor. If I say it's sold to you, it's sold to you." Well, whatever. It didn't. And the next day was Mandan Derby, and it got loaded on your trailer. It
was on your
You got to
trailer.
be fucking kidding me.
he
That
said-
son of a bitch.
He sends me this picture. What are you doing right now at work?
Because it's rare that I'm on the internet. I don't
Yeah.
look for cars, and that was the first time I ever was the first one to call on a car. I was like, finally, I got a nice driver.
Yeah.
Suck.
Yes.
Missed out.
Yeah, I
It was a
called her.
blue 76 driver.
I called
Had
her
like
on the way.
30,000 original miles on it, I think.
It was a 4-door, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a 4-door. Some old lady went into nursing home and they sold it.
Yeah, maybe.
She had it listed for what, $1,500?
$1,200.
$1,200?
2000. Oh, whatever. It was,
See, and I don't like that either. But that's their deal. I never ever consider anything sold until it's on my trailer.
right.
Right.
But I do not do that to people. When I say we got a deal personally over the years,
It's a deal.
Right.
That's kind of how I
Right.
operate
it's
too.
it's
but
changed.
I assume.
But
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
I kind of remember the car, but I kind of don't. It might have been
trying
in
to
a
think
period.
what
Might have been
year-
in a period where there was a lot coming in or a lot going.
That was
Right.
like 3 years ago.
Yeah, it
4
was,
years ago.
It was one of the last bigger years in Mandan, because then you were the only guy parked out in the middle, and you loaded it on
Okay.
your trailer there.
All right.
Yep.
I don't even know if you ran. I don't think you ran because you left before the Derby was even over with that car on your trailer.
If I was there, I probably ran.
Yeah, because you stayed at a bunch of the guys that came from out of town stayed at Ramkota.
Oh. I don't know.
Oh, I think I ran the stock class.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what.
Yep.
Yes, you ran the
I think
stock
it come
class.
down to me and Sherrado.
Yes, it did.
And the
It was you.
girl.
Yeah, it was you and Sherrado.
Now-
I think I won that one.
Yes, you
I
did.
think I won it with the same car that I bought. That's how I remember it. It was close to it. I think I had matching cars almost.
You did.
Yeah,
You did.
Yeah. Now that you say that, now I remember. But yeah, that was the day you loaded up that car. And I was like, God dang it.
Yeah, because
The one that got away. Oh, well.
Oh,
Yeah, that was
they're
just-
still out there.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you tell me I stole a 67 or a 68 LeBaron from you or an Imperial or a round back, then the feel bad factor. But we still got sedans out there.
Yeah,
GM
yeah.
sedans.
Yeah.
I'll make it right with you.
Yeah. How many two-door Imperials you got left? Or do you got any?
Yeah. And I went through that fad, 5-6 years ago when I was on
Yeah.
the big Imperial fad. God, I think we built, did we build 11 in 2 summers? Is that what we counted? 67 and 68?
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, we toasted through a lot of them.
'Cause I
Only
know-
last in one show.
You got one from Tori, I believe. Or I don't know if you got it, but I know you were working on a deal. That was many years ago. He had a two-door 67, I think it was.
Yeah, it's possible. Or Orth.
Well,
another guy. Them
Another
guys move
guy.
so
Boy,
many
he's
cars.
always hauling cars
God,
too.
they
That
move
guy.
cars.
Yep, and he's stopping by this afternoon. His daughters have never seen my shop, so I'm going to give him the tour. But getting back to the Imperial part,
Yeah.
I just let one go yesterday down to Iowa. Didn't really want to, but it is what it is. If they go to big shows, sometimes, believe it or not, I do sell some stuff. Have quite a few left. As far as drivers, no drivers yet. I'm working on one. My treasure, the unicorn they call it, that I want to get is I'm dead set, and maybe somebody will keep an eye out for me. I want a 67 two-door LeBaron. That's what I'm after. I want it all factory. I want black on black, and there was one on eBay 6-7 years ago, and I'm still kicking myself for it. But
Right.
That's the car I'm after right now.
Sure.
67 because it's got the Imperial in the grill. It's the only year that has it that way. That's my favorite body style. But that's what I'm after if anybody's out there.
Sure.
You want to get on my good side? You want a wagon? Find me a 67 two-door LeBaron.
Sure. So, are you not a big fan of the box cars then? The 64s,
Used to
the
be
6s?
built, ran quite a few of them. To each their own. Certain shows, they work better.
Right.
The way they got them now, the way they've been running that Blizzard Bash, hell yeah. I'd like to build another one.
Right.
Everybody knows, though, around here, not everybody can get their hands on the Imperials. You showed up with one of them, you were a magnet right off the bat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But they got to remember in the long run, there's a skinny pedal.
Yeah.
There's ways you got to drive them,
Yeah.
and they can be beat.
They can.
You don't have to get intimidated.
Strong if you can keep the steering under them.
Right.
Well, that's
Exactly.
the hardest part. Yeah.
Now they'll favor the rules to where you kind of can keep it under there, but track plays a major role too.
Yeah. It does. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of box cars out there yet that I know of,
Oh, yeah.
anyways. So I don't know. I even know of it. That's when you said driver, but it's a box car, so it's not as cool.
Guys still holding on to them. I mean, more and more shows are starting to allow them. So
Right.
bringing them back after allowing them back, being able to run again after all them years where it was big for a while, then all of a sudden they shut off.
That's maybe a good question for you. I was asking someone else the other day that's been in the derby space for a long time. So, obviously we write our own rules. A lot of promoters write their own rules, but a lot of the promoters, not all of them, but a lot of them are at the age where we don't even know why suies and things like that got outlawed. It's just one of those line items you write in there, no suicides, no this. I mean, obviously I know the Imperial story, but I've never seen a Sui win, so I just never.
I have, and that was a certain area of guys that were ahead of the time. When you think
Sure.
back now, they're the ones that went out, and I can only give street credit to certain guys. But you take like all these years I've battled with Shea. I don't care if you like Shea or not, but you give that man fucking rusty whatever, he can turn it into a winner.
Right.
Guys like him, they are the ones that that experimented
Right.
and made things work and set trends for different areas or got people going.
Right.
I could give you a clean 74 Riviera. Am I going to have confidence you know how to build that
Right.
and make it right? Probably not. That's not going to intimidate me depending on who the builder is behind it.
Right.
And I mean, they set the standard, and it's guys like them that we owe credit to because there's a lot of certain cars out there, like your football window,
Right.
whatever, or your bubble top, certain years, and
Yep.
I've learned more about them, and I told myself I don't even want to learn that shit. I'm not going to build them. I'm not going to do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm spoiled. I still have a lot of old iron, but without them guys pointing out this or that on certain cars,
Right.
guys had to make adjustments. There's only so much old iron left. But getting back to the SUI part of the deal and stuff like that, why they were outlawed, well, shit, yeah, there was guys that were ahead of the times. They would dominate
Yeah.
at certain shows.
Right.
And, when you wreck enough of them, you learn the tricks on them, what you can and can't do. Back in the day, in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I was hammering, everybody says, oh, geez, he's this, he's that, he's got so many old iron. I put in the time.
Right.
But what's weird about that, thinking back now, it was all about the Impalas and Caprices to me. You know how many Buicks I'd look at back in the day and wouldn't even load? And now,
Right.
in the last 10 years, it's all about the Buicks and the Impalas and the Caprices. Only
And the olds
nobody even wanted
98s,
them.
yeah.
And then the weird thing is, in hindsight now, with the popularity of the ribs, I'd walk in the junkyards and we'd make fun of them because they were so funny looking.
Right.
Yeah.
Big glass window in the back.
Right.
And now I go back to all these places, like, my brain's just going wild. Where did I see this rib at? Where did I see this
Right.
rib at? They're gone now.
Yeah.
We didn't know what we had or what we passed up.
Yeah. Anymore, a clean riv is probably worth more than a wagon.
Oh, it's crazy.
Oh,
they're
stupid.
them and the wagons are still the hot item.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
But it's crazy how many of them I just walked by. And all the caddies.
Yep.
I was crushing 73, 74, 75 caddies. I'm like, I'm not running them because of the suspension and the
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
the way, oh, God, they take out your oil pans. We're not running them goddamn things. I still have pictures of some that were perfectly rust-free that I was like, I'm never going to run. I crushed them when iron was at, 160, 170 a ton was a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think back now, I'm like, oh, my
Oh
God.
yeah.
Why
Especially when
did
you
I
got a ton of them, sitting around.
Oh, we passed up caddies.
Fortunately, that same story. You can hear it a lot.
Yeah.
Everybody cry. Well,
and then you go back to that spot. You're like, oh, I do remember where one is at. And then,
Yeah.
a couple hours later, you go back. There's nothing but brown, dead grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where that car
Missed
was.
it.
You're like, oh, no.
Yeah. It's so true though, because I always tell him my old man had a lot of cars when I was younger. That's what I did. He would work, tinker on stuff, and I could run hoods for 3 rows, just a long ways.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what year it was. Maybe 07, 08 when metal was super high. Semis came in, the crusher came right to the farm, and load after load after load after load went out. Right now he's like, God, hindsight, half those cars are worth a shit ton of money now.
I bought some cars, we'll call it by accident, some good suicides and Imperials back in the day before we were even running them and building them. Just
Right.
because I thought they were cool.
Right.
They were $300. We ran and drove them home.
right.
Bombed the hell out of them, blew up the motors, and either gave them away or we didn't sell them for derby cars.
Right.
Nobody was running them
Right.
then,
Yeah.
And then I can just remember, doing this so long, when we were running these Fords in the early 90s, it was always 61 to 60. They were a dime a dozen. And I remember, rest in peace, Rohrbach from Baudel, the first time he came to a show back in the 90s, and he was in a 76 Impala. We were like, what is that piece of junk?
Right.
And we made fun of him. That kind of dates me how long I've been doing this, but it's like, what is that? God, are we going to kill him?
Right.
No, he got the last laugh.
Yeah.
That
Right.
car was the last one standing. It wasn't even,
Right. Beat.
Cleaned house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, compared
And then
to
it was game on. We were like, holy cow, I know where that's at. And God, we were bringing in Pals and Caprices left and right.
right.
Right. So this is really going to change gears. What got you into the bar space? I mean, you got 2 bars in town?
Just sitting on the other side of a bar with a buddy of mine that visited here once a year from Pennsylvania and thought, geez, God, we spend a lot of money in here.
Yeah.
Let's change that.
Maybe this is a good business to get into.
Right.
Pollock's a small town. We got a lot of rural people. We still have a lot of good times in this small town. I had to bring a different aspect into it after the first year or two. I had to be known for some. I love cooking. I love serving good food. I'm
Yeah.
very picky. I love to eat good food.
Sure.
Didn't really have that in town. Pretty proud of the food I serve. Had to bring something into it to draw people down. I
Yeah.
had a great drawing from Linton and Strasburg people that support me on
Sure.
the weekends, which helps.
Right.
You know, you have to find different ways. But, yeah, that's how all that started. And, you know, you got to keep it business-like.
Right.
It got a little crazy there for a while. One of the reasons that I owe, you know, I've been sober now since 16. You know, I shouldn't say totally sober. I sneak a beer here and there
Yep.
on occasion,
Yep.
but I have not touched, one thing I'm proud of, I have not touched hard liquor
Yep.
since 16. And I'll tell you one thing, if you take Derby serious, you can't do both.
Yeah. That's
If
true.
you run as hard as I was running there for a while, you know, the two don't mix.
Right.
There's no worse feeling on them summer days or being hungover and going and wrecking cars. It was fun when I was young, and you could kind of battle through it, but boy, I'll tell you right now,
Yeah.
just like some, you know, and not to stray away from that story, but I hear the old guys, like I remember Doug Orth, rest in peace, over all the years of hanging around, you know, being around Derek and how them older guys would talk. Yeah, you wait till you get my age, wintertime. God, you really feel it. Oh, come on. Oh, I'm here to tell you, boys. The last 4 or 5 years,
Really feel
that
it.
fall starts setting in. I always thought that was a witch's tale. It's not bullshit.
Yeah.
My body feels it come
It's here now.
wintertime. So, but, you know, not to get away from the subject, but yeah, I got into the bar business. I've been in the fireworks business. This will be my 37th year of doing that.
Wow.
Got into the iron business pretty hard 12 years ago as just a sideshow. You know, you got to play the game when
Right.
you're derbying. You got to find different ways to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Yep.
And keep my hired man on, Jason. He works for me year-round. He's one of my hired guys. You know, the iron market's tricky like anything else. There's
Yeah.
good and bad to it. Of course, the catalytic converter market
Right.
changed the game. But
Yeah.
you
Right.
find ways to pay your, you know, I don't care who you are. You know, if you put in the hustle and the time, you can make things work. You know, I don't feel sorry for too many people.
No.
If you put in the time and the hunt and the thrill of the game, looking for cars or just scrapping on the side,
Yep.
you can make it work and you can actually make it fun.
Absolutely.
You know.
Well, you're most likely doing something you enjoy at that point.
In 2020, when it went up, I think it was 2020, the end of 2020 or end of 19 to 20, whatever. From January to January, I ended up hauling just shy of 630 cars out of here
Wow.
to Bismarck. You know,
You haul them
just
all the
a
way to
side
Bismarck,
business.
huh?
Yep. I have several setups, but people won't realize that I was running a load a day.
Who are you hauling to?
Gerdau.
Oh,
They
Gerdau.
treated me very well over the years, but you know,
Sure.
you got to find different ways to play the game and pay the bill.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, everybody says, "Oh God, he's got a lot of money. It's no fair. You can buy this or that." Man, it's all about what you do.
Yeah.
You don't have to get into
Gotta
that.
be on the
but there's
grind,
other ways.
yeah.
You know, just like you guys branching out.
Yeah.
You know, it's awesome. I probably wouldn't even agree to do this, but you guys, you know, it's cool.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll be brutally honest. Haven't watched a podcast yet, but
It's fine.
But I will now. No, but no, it's huge. And you guys, it's awesome. I hate to see some of these North Dakota shows die.
Right.
Like I said, maybe it's part of getting older. But like I said, I'm glad you guys are bringing back Mandan. I know you're gonna. I always said, what an awesome track.
Right.
That town. There's a lot of history there with North Dakota drivers. That
Yes.
town deserves a derby.
They deserve a great
Yes,
derby.
great
Absolutely.
venue. What a
Yes.
shame not to have one there. Those were
Exactly.
some of the biggest and best.
A lot of good drivers
Oh, absolutely.
in that area right
The
there
talent.
too. Yeah.
Well, even
know,
Sam, when I
Bismarck,
sat down with
Mandan.
Sam Williams, he's like, we even used to make the trek up there and run it. You know, it wasn't just like Mandan. It was
Right.
the spot for a while.
Yep.
No, the Dakotas, the upper Midwest doesn't get talked about a lot.
No,
I
never.
still go back and I'd still handpick certain guys for a team that aren't maybe as well known or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But I know they're solid builders. They're old school.
Yeah.
And old school still works.
I always think about, you got like Travis Anger, you got Jan, you got all these guys that most people nowadays don't even know about those guys because they've been kind of out of the game. I would still pick them over a lot of people
Absolutely.
any day of the week. I mean, people are going to say, well, why didn't you say my name? But there's a lot of people.
No,
but
I
there's
get
just two that come to mind that they've kind of been out of the scene for a while, but I know they'd pick up and build a just phenomenal ride. So, and
No, and I know you guys will get bigger and better. And That's what it needs right now.
Yeah.
I still worry about, when we were talking about the past and old school derbies and everything else and friendships and everything else over the years. There's still some derbies that I kind of shouldn't say this, that I wish would die because they're hurting the sport. They're hanging on by a thread and they're only kind of hurting it. But then there's some that did die that I wish were still here.
Right.
Because they were some of the best. Maybe the payouts and stuff weren't the best, but it's the stuff that always happened afterwards.
Right. Well, sometimes it's just the scene alone, like, the atmosphere of the derby. Money is not always everything either.
Yep.
Location.
Yeah, location. Yeah, I mean, you got all these big indoor shows going on. They do hurt these small town derbies because nobody wants to build for them anymore. Yeah, so it does hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people, like I said, they chase the money, but some people chase the other side of it too, which is good. They're helping, more original. Like anytime you say track shot, good deal. They're bringing in They're bringing in people that would never ever go to that show, simply because they get a chance to be in, and that's cool. That's anything that helps, Just like you guys. I mean, you guys are going to help. You guys will help a lot of these towns.
Right.
These guys don't know it. These small towns. We don't need to name names, but they need you guys.
Right.
So hats off to you guys because you're doing your part to save some of these shows. I see it. I see the bigger picture.
Right.
Been there, done that game.
Not everybody does see the bigger picture.
No. Unfortunately, they're old school.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with old school, but they're stuck in their old ways.
Yeah.
They don't see that they have to change. Bless their heart. It's sometimes about the money, the payouts. Dude, the 90s and the 80s were a long time ago. They have no clue how many dollars we got sitting under these hoods.
Oh, God.
Correct.
These rear ends are.
Yep.
They got to step their game up.
Absolutely.
And,
Even a car by itself
Yeah.
without a rear end or any of that. Just what that costs, and since 1920 when metal came up here, it cost to put a cage in a car.
Yeah.
That alone.
Yeah, and sometimes I likes the point series, and I think where you guys are going with it, it'll be fine. It'll be good.
Yeah.
And that might get that other guy or a family member. It's part of the point series.
Right, trying to pull them in.
You need, like I said, I talked about earlier, you need that spark. You need something different. Why do I want to go to that show? It's the same old, it's a point series show now.
Right.
You need little different things like that.
Yeah, there's other things to win, other ideas on the table. That's hopefully what we're going to draw in,
I mean, we're just, at the end of the day, we're just trying to give people something else to look forward to,
Yep.
Like you said, find that extra spark or something, give somebody one more reason to show up.
It's
if nothing else, bragging rights.
Yep.
Yeah,
For
bragging
some
rights.
guys,
Or even you mentioned it, Dixon mentioned it, almost all the drivers. I don't know if you stuck around after New Salem, but the no entry fee was huge.
Yep.
But
Different
then
things like that.
We made burgers for all the drivers.
Yes.
No cost. Yeah, it might have been whatever, $200, whatever.
Burgers
But-
and beer.
That goes a long way sometimes.
Yeah.
It's the little things like that.
Right, exactly.
No, I didn't stick around after that one. Should have. I've usually got stuff to do. I wish I could stick around more. I've gotten so bad lately that I've gotten checks in the mail later that I left so quick I never even got my money. That's pretty bad. And I've left without saying goodbye sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel bad about that. I don't know why, but I've always got something going on.
Yeah.
I gotta leave.
No.
And I hate not watching, being able to watch the end of the show. But getting
Right.
back to this deal, it's a similar format with Stern Dirt.
Right.
Yep.
Treating their drivers right. Don't, necessarily you're not in the money, but holy cow, they're giving away a pickup load of parts and prizes. A guy remembers that. A driver remembers that. Actually.
Right.
Yeah, I got my ass kicked up there, but holy crap, I won a generator. That was pretty cool. Or
Right.
now this year, Stern Dirt's feeding the drivers
Right.
in the pits. And that's awesome because you go to these fairs and you go to some of these shows, the goddamn concession stands ain't even open yet. It drives me nuts.
It drives us nuts too.
You guys know it drove me nuts
Yeah.
last year. I was starving my ass off up in goddamn Washburn.
Yep,
I'm like,
yep.
you guys realize who's in charge of these goddamn concession stands?
Yeah.
You guys realize how much money you're losing?
Right.
Get here. You guys would be busy.
Yes.
But drivers remember little things like that.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little things.
Feel you on that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll reverse this. I'll ask you a question. It might
Yeah.
be curious to a lot of people. Whose idea was it to get this going for you guys? Who brainstormed this?
The promoting or this?
Both.
The podcast was me. The promoting. So here's a crazy part
Kind of a weird deal.
that nobody knows. I didn't meet Brady until Las Vegas because a coworker of mine, that's 2019, so we really haven't known each other that long.
Right.
2019, a coworker of mine is good friends with him. I don't know if they were in the military together or not.
No.
But whatever, they're good friends. And he said, I know a guy that'll sponsor you for Vegas. He loves derbying. I was like, huh, anyone could use a sponsor going to Vegas. It was not a cheap trip. It's like, absolutely. He let me use his enclosed trailer. Okay, use his trailer. He flew down to Vegas and helped me in the pits. He was my only pit guy. There's other people that are helping, but he was the only one dedicated just for my car.
Yeah.
From that day forward, we've kind of shared the same passion for derbying, and I don't know, we kind of got together one day and we're like, this show's dying. Weekend Warrior quit, Cody quit, Brett quit doing shows, and now we're not just doing derbies. Now we got car shows, mud runs, snowmobile races.
And I think that part of it's awesome. And I didn't realize that either.
Yeah.
But then that breaks the mold for you guys.
Yeah.
So you're not so
competitive. It's not just
the same old thing.
Yeah, it's not just derbies that we like. I mean, the kind of the collective story is that it's pretty much anything with a motor.
Right. Yeah.
You go drop a big block on a lawnmower, I'll be out there all day.
And we got friends that do it. We have lawnmower pulls. I got Dallas Schaff. He's got a lawnmower with a 4.3 on it that is just nasty.
Yeah.
But it's shit like that we love,
Yeah,
and that's good for you guys. Keep it interesting. Keep it different. You're going to draw more different.
Well, and I think that's our little bit different inlay that we have compared to like whatever. I know Bash or Smash It and Ultimate. They're huge companies, but they're in just derbying.
Right.
Yeah.
We're in got our fingers in all of the areas, which helps.
It just, especially for us, it changes the mold of what we're doing, to be like, we got derbies because the derbies are a lot of work, from this side of it, we're working all winter long, talking with different people, setting up, all these different things, that the shows aren't even for months, but there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done right now so that proper information can get out to the drivers. Yeah. And then there'll be a gap, and then we start prepping for the show at the end there. But, like I said, we just, back to the, how do we get started? We just kind of had conversation about it, and I run other businesses and stuff, so I was like, well, if we're gonna do it,
gonna treat it like a business.
It's gonna be a business, though.
Absolutely.
It's front to back, licensed, insured, bonds. Everything is gonna be done like a business. Yep. I was like, I'm not gonna do stuff off high fives and handshakes because those of us that you more especially, we talked about it a little off camera, but. With all the handshake deals and stuff don't always work out the way they're supposed to with, who's doing what and who this was promised to so-and-so and back and forth.
Someone's not holding up his end of the bargain. And
right.
But it's the same way with my bar business.
Correct.
It just sucks. And I hope you guys can keep it together, but it ended up kind of ruining my friendship with one of my, business with friends is tough.
No, it is. It is.
But all I can add to the pot is just be honest with each other up front.
Right.
Yep.
Don't try to shortcut the game.
Right.
I started my first official business when I was 16, my fireworks business, and I wasn't old enough to have the licenses in my name. Bless my mom. She said, I think we should be done with this. And I said, that was after that. I said, well, hell, I can do it in my name now. And then I kept saying one more year.
Right.
God, I'm still doing it today. But you just got to lay everything out in front.
Right.
Yep.
That's the only thing I can give her as far as advice. Just be honest and keep it fair and, bail each other out when you have to. Or if you have to step up to the plate one day and it's your weekend to do whatever. And, another guy, you just got to buck up.
Yeah.
Well, we already got that this coming summer. I mean, he's got a weekend that I'm going to be running the whole show, which is not. Yeah. I don't worry about it. It's going to happen.
Yep, and it's going to reverse and it's going to flip flop.
So it's just one of those things. But
we got one of the shows this year that I won't make it to.
Yeah, which that's how it goes.
To think about till later on. Talk about it.
We signed the contract. Then he called me like a week later. Do you know I can't be at that show?
There's certain times.
And I was at the meeting, but it didn't. It went right over. My dad goes, "That's my wedding." I'm like, oh.
See, and I'd be bad at that because I procrastinate too bad too, in a lot of certain times with reservations and big, whether it's a Christmas party or this and that. I'll just, we'll get you in. Oh, the old lady. Oh, she's on me. Why would you tell them yes without looking at the calendar? Well, we'll figure it out.
Right.
No, we can't. We don't have the help or this and that. It's like, oops.
Yeah.
So anyway, we decided we were going to do it, make it a business, and then that first year we got, one or two shows, and we were like still trying to figure out how far we wanted to commit to this. But like I said,
But a lot of venues looked at us like we would come in with contracts and say we need a fee, and they'd be like, well, we only paid the guy last year $200. It's like, yeah, that's probably why he's not back anymore.
Right. But some of these shows, the last few years, the car count's been down a lot, kind of all across everywhere. But a lot of shows were like dropping off, not because, some of these places wanted to have a show still, but the people that have been doing it were like, I'm tired.
Yep.
I've been doing it for 10, 15 years, whatever it is. And, maybe I'm getting too old for this shit, or I'm just tired of doing it, because it is a lot of time. And there wasn't a whole market of people jumping up to fill those shoes. So it's kind of like, well, we can do it, see what happens. And then the next question became, how many shows are you guys going to take on? Well, we said 3. And then we're like, well, we'll do 4.
Just don't overdo it, and don't burn yourself out. You
Yeah.
guys know what to do, but like I said, with you guys changing stuff up,
Right.
it should work. And then that involves a bigger picture. Like people, like when you get older, like me, and
Right.
coming towards the end, you start appreciating more things, like the sacrifices. Like you take a lot of stuff for granted early in derbying or life in general.
Yeah.
But Jesus, without my team, without a wife that just knows I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyway, unfortunately. But you,
Multiple hours.
well,
Love you, babe.
you start appreciating and you got it. Your
Yeah.
family has to come first. You can't
Yeah.
lose your goddamn marriage over it or your business or anything like that. But
Right.
boy, when you get older, you start looking at the big picture and you're like,
Holy
oh,
shit.
there's a lot of people that sacrificed for me that I kind of probably took advantage of that
Mm-hmm.
I probably
Right.
shouldn't have. And, me owning the business and stuff and going out to these shows are grueling because, like, even these bigger team shows, you guys, Jesus, you're away for 4 or 5, 6 days.
Yeah,
That's
it's
it's
a big deal.
You got a wife at home or an old lady that's
And then
you
they
better
do-
be pretty understanding, or because it's not worth losing your relationship over
No.
or your
No.
goddamn business or whatever. So
Right.
commitment is everything, and you got to start appreciating
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, And I'll be honest, shit, there was a while there I took things for granted, but God, it comes full circle.
Yeah.
It's,
Oh, it does. Yeah, and people always ask us, well, are you going to add more shows? Well, they don't realize the other stuff we do behind,
Yeah.
the car shows and things like that. We might only have 6, 7 derbies, but in the grand scheme, we got 12 to 15 events a summer. Our weekends from June to September, we're just boom,
Yeah,
slammed.
there isn't 15 of us doing this. It's me and Mitchell, and we have, Austin Marshbecker helps out with pretty much all the shows as well. So between the 3 of us, as far as actual running the shows, we only got so much time to give.
Yeah.
He's married with kids. I'm married with kids. We have other businesses and, jobs and whatnot. So it's like, you guys should add another show here. It's like, if you can find me another weekend somehow, maybe.
Buy me
but-
time.
And it sucks because I never, there's some negatives, but I never realized that time flies, man.
Yeah.
Especially when you get older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It's God. You start appreciating different things, and man, when you're in the heart of them summers, it's like it seems for me like 4th of July when I'm done selling fireworks, and then I got my big town dairy days. It's
Sure.
like after that, it's scary because it's still July, but before you know it,
Right.
it's the end of summer, man, and
I know.
you're kind of bummed out.
Yeah.
Like, man, we waited for it.
Didn't
we have
do
our
nothing.
brutal winters up here.
Yeah.
And we wait for it, and before you know it, boom.
Yeah.
Geez, another summer in the books, another year went by.
And didn't do nothing.
Didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hats off to you guys. You guys will be good for up here. And these guys, like I said, these guys deserve it. These towns deserve it. These drivers, like I said, deserve it.
Yeah, there's a lot of high-quality drivers within
and
a
the history
200-mile
of-
radius.
Holy.
History,
300-mile
names and
radius.
stuff. Yeah, it's absolutely. It's good for this area. This area
Yeah.
deserves it.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
hopefully more younger guys like you get into it.
Yeah, I hope so.
And you
I ain't
guys
that
keep
young.
getting some-
I was going to say, I don't even
Well-
consider myself a young driver anymore.
No, but I mean,
I know what you mean. No.
Compared to the other promoters,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that are out there.
I feel you.
Right. But that's, the unfortunate truth is a lot of the guys that have been running a lot of these shows all across the country have been doing it 20 years.
Yeah.
And it makes me nervous because it's the same old faces, like me. I know I can't last forever, and certain other guys that end up at these same old shows. God, it makes me nervous because who are these younger guys that are going to keep the car counts up?
Right.
That's
Right.
where you got to find the way to get them in and get these kids off their goddamn computers or phones or couches or whatever the new craze is.
Yeah.
Get them back in the shop, man.
Yes.
Hands on, you know.
Well, that's a lot of schools don't even have a shop anymore. It's so wild.
Yeah. And I thought,
blows my mind.
I thought COVID was going to be the helper when COVID hit. And, this will be good because coming out of COVID, I thought, oh, my God, are there going to be some massive car counts? Because people ain't got nothing better to do but go back to their shop and mess around. And I think I could be wrong. I think it was a double negative reversal.
It was.
It was.
100%.
People got lazy.
100%.
People got lazy. I mean, and
It was like, what?
you know, some people lost their jobs or, you know, lost some income because
Or
they
they
couldn't
got
go to work.
too spoiled and they got too much free money and sat on their ass.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course, we
It's
waited for the government to bail them out again, but we don't want to get into that part.
Yeah. But yeah, we thought the same thing. We thought we talked about car counts are going to be up. But then, you know, for one of various reasons, like you said, it went the opposite way.
like, twofold.
Yeah.
Which sucks, but
I mean, all across
do
the
you do?
U.S., car counts were way down. Some of them shows, you know, 50K to win down south. They had, 2 years ago? I'm trying to remember what show it was.
Well, Utah had that big payout, and they canceled it even, I think.
They still got some big payouts, and the car count isn't there yet, but that goes back to the same group of guys in the politics. And
Right.
who's going to go in and clean house, and if you're not in the circle, you don't have much of a chance.
Right.
Right.
Anyway, I think that one's coming home with me, that car.
Yeah. you wish. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Has this got a 454 in it?
The black one.
The black one does?
454, yep.
I just think because it's got big, wide fats in the back.
Well,
maybe
I
it's
haven't-
got a 454.
Some of these will get makeovers, some will stay the way they are.
Sure.
Every car, like I said, every car I got has a story behind it.
These are all keepers then? Like not
Yeah.
for sale?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
don't not say for sale because
Yeah, you know the old deal.
Yeah.
Counting rollers and everything else. I kept a list. That's an interesting deal too, a story by itself. I started a list when I was 16 on every car I bought and blah, blah, blah. And then over the years, I kind of got away from it because I started getting into the scrap part of it. But on the GMs and the shockers, which wasn't a lot of shockers, but I used them for trade bait back in the 90s and early 2000s.
Sure.
But I had 1.6 years ago or 5 years ago hit a major milestone, and I hit the 500 mark on 71 to 76 GMs and shockers that I bought over my lifetime.
That's a lot.
Yeah. The big buyout days are kind of over with. That's a thing of the past.
Yeah.
I'm involved in a couple now. Biggest buyout I ever had was the 33 cars in one shot. Done kind of a couple big ones in the last few years. I can't remember the amount, but bought Sorensen out. Had other buyouts where there was 20-some car buyout and never even had to bring them home. Had them all sold before they even left here. Just different things.
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, and that's not bragging or nothing. I put in the time.
Yeah.
I put in the time, whether
Absolutely.
it was internet or the old school days when I was doing it. I can't believe it. My truck was full of maps.
Right.
Old school, man.
Yeah.
And that was fun.
Yeah.
Like going out into Montana.
Right.
You know, I lived in Sturgis for 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I hammered the Black Hills area a lot. And then I'd take off on the weekends and shit, my old lady wouldn't see me for a couple of days. And it was a treasure hunt.
Right.
Yeah.
God, you can get lost in Montana, but I
Yeah.
found some great cars out in Montana back in the day. But that was, I mean, I got car stories, and that's for another time and another day.
Right.
Some of the stuff I ran into. And then I will say this. I lived down in Martin, South Dakota. Not a lot of people that. Well, he was in charge of the hospital, the administrator down there for 5 years. So I put in a stint down there, which is another crazy story on its own. I was in charge of the ambulance service down there. I was a first responder down there.
Yep.
Sure.
And not a lot of people realize we even have a third world country. in South Dakota. And the stories I could tell you alone there, I could write a book on what I seen and found down there.
Yeah.
But I ran into a lot of great cars down there on the Pine Ridge Reservation and cars down there. But I got into some crazy deals down there that we'll talk about off camera.
Yeah.
That'll blow your mind, the stuff I ran into down there dealing with those people.
Sure.
And some of the stuff I ran into. And actually, that black wagon, a quick story.
Yeah.
I was on my way down towards Rosebud to pick up a round back. And on
Yeah.
my way home here, that's sitting in the middle of nowhere on the reservation. And it's a neat story, so I'll tell it quick. I drove by it, about broke my neck turning around because here's this wagon
clean
in the middle of the reservation. What is that doing here? And I whip a U. Almost totaled my truck and trailer out. And long story short, the lady got it through a divorce, and I can tell the story now because the guy's not getting out for another year. But this is nuts. So I get the car deal done after numerous weeks of going back and forth with her. She knew what she had, and and I paid up for it. But anyway, I'm coming through Pierce, South Dakota. This is a true story. And the UPS driver is on my ass and won't get off my tail. And I finally pull over in a Hardee's parking lot. And he's like, hey, where'd you get that wagon, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, obviously you know where I got it or you wouldn't be asking. And he's like, I just got to ask. He said, that's not going to be a derby car, is it? I said, absolutely not. I said, it's going to a good home. I didn't tell him where I lived. But come to find out, his uncle owned it. He went through a divorce. He's incarcerated. He's a member of the Hells Angels. This is a true story.
Oh, wow.
And that was never supposed to leave the family.
Oh.
It was one of the first cars his nephew painted in body school when he went to do body work.
Sure.
And the guy gets out next year, but he's a member of the Hells Angels. So that's kind of a crazy story. And, yeah, I ended up getting the car, and it'll be saved.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, I've got so many crazy stories with some of the cars and the stuff I've gotten involved with. But who would ever thought that would be north of the Rosebud Reservation?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, just these cars in general these days, that's how a lot of guys find them. Somebody's got one sitting at there, especially drivers. It don't move for 15 years, and then somebody else in the family gets it and takes it finally out of the house, and now then everybody's after it.
Yep.
I got a lot of crazy car stories, and I went through different fads. And I went through the Caprice and Impala fad. We'll show some pictures later that I'll show you guys that are pretty cool that we'll go into detail and I'll explain to you. But I went through that fad. I went to the Imperial fad. Got into the wagon fad 5, 6, 7 years ago just because of how extinct they were and stuff. Mm-hmm. My big claim to fame is we'll show a picture later, I think. I think I had 14 driver wagons at one time. 71 to 76.
Is that the one in front of your bar?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And I'll explain in detail later how that picture came about because there was an actual picture painting done of the 60s of the guys that were at the movie theater. That's how that picture came about. I copied their original picture. It's interesting, and I'll show that to you guys being car guys. And it's a cool story on how I redid it. I redid it early on with my sedans.
Sure.
And then I redid it later with my wagons. Kind of corny, but something to look back on later.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Everybody goes through their fad. And right now my fad is kind of the wagons, but it is. It'll change too. Who knows?
Sure.
Might be cats next.
So if we go eat at your bar, which one are we supposed to go to?
Yeah.
Are they both got...
No, Grumpy's is the only one that serves food.
Okay.
Big Daddy's is the party bar.
Okay.
That's the old movie theater. That picture was actually taken of that we're talking about.
Yep.
That's for the live entertainment and the party bar. When the parties go on in the fall and different times of the year.
Okay.
But yeah.
Have you ever bought any cars in Roscoe, South Dakota? Maybe, yeah.
Awesome.
I suppose it's hard to say.
Yeah, say when you move that many.
Well,
cars,
right. Because I know there was a bunch of old iron down there. Just a guy I went to high school with, his grandparents owned a farm way out of town, and they had a bunch of cars. So I ended up with a couple of them 3 years ago, but prior to me, I mean, people were shipping them out like crazy. So I didn't get my hands in there fast enough. So I'm sure
that's a flashback town too, boy. A zinger from the past. Back in the 90s. Wow.
There's still one in town. There's a 2-door 73 two-tone sitting right behind, I don't know, that like sewing shop, but they will not sell the dang thing. I've tried a few times. Ortho will end up with it, I'm sure, one of these days.
2-door?
2-door.
It might have went up for auction this past summer.
Now that you say that, I think it did.
Palmer auction.
Yeah. Was it like a tan and a dark brown? It did.
$6,500.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. I was watching that. Yeah. That was last summer.
Trust me, I tried to buy when I brought home those two cars.
That was a one owner, I think. Yeah. I think I know the car you're talking about.
Yeah. It sat in the same spot, and I'd stopped at the house multiple times. So crazy. Well, we can hop off and maybe talk off camera.
Yeah, we'll
I don't know. I don't know when you gotta be back. So
we'll get